is my favorite time of the year. It is a brand new year and you get to reflect on the previous year while planning for the new year. And for this video, we're going to be talking about how much I made in 2023 and do a little bit of a recap of what happened and what I'm doing to make 2024 a better year for my business. So I have been reading old journal entries in prepping for the new year and just kind of reflecting back on what happened in the last year. And it is crazy to think about how much has actually happened in 2023. At the beginning of this year, we were still in our apartment and I was so terrified that we were not going to be able to buy a house and we were going to be stuck there for another year. I even thought at one point that I was going to have to get a 9-to-5 job in order to make the amount of money that we were going to need to qualify. I also had only one cat. Millie was not in the picture at the beginning of the year. And one of my favorite journal entries is actually me talking about this sweet, beautiful stray cat that we wanted to pick up because at the time I obviously didn't know it was going to work out. And now I know that cat to be little Miss Millie. And I love both of my cats. They're so cute. They don't get along very well because Millie is very aggressive, but it's okay. We have both of them and it's great. So 2023 was a really, really good year for me and I'm excited to see how 2024 is going to go. But in terms of business, here's how it did. At the start of the year, I was making about $600 a month, which is not a lot of money. And I was actually door dashing to make up the extra money that I needed. And it honestly still wasn't enough, but I did what I could. And last month in my business, December of 2023, I made over $1,500 in my business, which is the most that I have ever made, which is crazy to say. And it is really crazy to read the old journal entries where all I wanted to do was make $1,000 a month. And I did that consistently. That was all that I wanted, was to make $1,000 a month. And now I'm making $1,500 a month. It's amazing. So let's talk about all the different income sources that I had for the year. I'm not going to break it down month to month. I think I might do a short on that. So if you guys are interested in seeing how much money I made month to month, I'll do a separate video on that or a short. So I'm just going to talk about the couple different income sources that I had and what I made through each of them throughout the entire year. Now I track all of my income, my expenses, my monthly personal bills and everything in my budget tracker. And I absolutely love this thing. It has been so extremely useful to understanding what's going on between my husband and me financially and my business because I have a lot of financial things to run, especially with owning a business. Now I've got the link for this in the description if you want to check the same thing out for yourself. And it is honestly so useful. If you're trying to get your finances together in 2024, I recommend getting a budget tracker, especially if you're a business owner. This is a good thing to have. But my lowest income was shop sales at $100.82. And now I don't really do much with digital products, so this isn't really a surprise. It's kind of one of usually my lowest income sources, but I still made $100. Now next was ad revenue. So this was money that I made from YouTube and I made $781.48 for the year. I'm going to probably do a separate video specifically for a year end of YouTube. So you're going to see more about how my YouTube channel specifically did pretty soon. But after that, my third income source that we had was affiliate sales, where I made $946.46. And my last and my biggest income source, as always, was client work. And I made a total of $5,562.83 with client work this year, which is absolutely bonkers to say, because this is more that I made in one income source than I made any years previously in my business before. I did not ever make $5,000 a year total combined in any year previously. And I did this year with just one income source. Wow. That's a lot of money for me. So in total, I made a total of $7,391.59 in 2023. However, here is the kicker. Here's what most content creators are not going to tell you. The big shiny number is great. It's literally the most I have ever made. $7,391 is the most money that I have ever made in my business. But I also have expenses. When you run a business, you have expenses. And if you watched last year's recap video, my expenses were so much that I actually didn't make a profit that year. Now, technically, I didn't make a profit if I don't count the DoorDash money that I made. But for the purposes of the video, I don't count DoorDash money in there. So technically I made a profit, but business wise, I didn't make it because I don't count DoorDash money. And I'm going to do the same for this video as well. So my expenses for 2023 equaled $4,546. So my total income that I made, with my business total being $7,300 and my expenses being $4,500, I actually made a profit of $2,845.59. Now, that is a lot less than the original business total, but that is still a profit compared to last year where I lost almost $700 in revenue because I didn't make that much. That is more than my business total for last year, not counting expenses. So I am happy with that number. We are in the green. And if you're curious and you want to know, I made $1,252 DoorDashing. So my profit technically with DoorDashing altogether was actually $4,097. But if we're just talking about business, which is usually what my videos are about, my profit was $2,800. But if you're curious, that's actually what it was. However, there is one more expense that you don't hear talked about from a lot of content creators. However, I can't tell you what this expense is because I don't know what it is yet, and that is taxes. I have no idea how much of this money is going to be taken out from taxes, if I'm going to have to pay any or anything like that. Because since I work for myself, taxes are not taken out of what I have made. I have to do that myself. And I have no idea what my taxes are going to be this year. Now, I have been lucky in years past that my deductions have been good enough that I have not had to pay any money because my income was small enough and my deductions were big enough that I did not have to worry. And I also joint file with my husband, who has a regular 9-to-5 job where he gets a W-9 or whatever the paperwork is. And so usually it evens out and we end up still getting money back on our taxes. And I expect last year in 2023 to be relatively the same, so I'm not super worried. But this year I'm expecting my income to go up and hopefully go up pretty drastically. So here's a few things that I am doing or have done to be smarter with my money in the next year. The first thing that I did this year was I actually opened up a bank account specifically for my business. Before, I wasn't making enough money to be able to have a business bank account. So all of the money that I made just went into my personal checking account because that's where all the bills came out of and everything. And I needed that money pretty much ASAP. So it all just went into there. But this year my income changed and I also just wanted to take my business a little bit more seriously. So I opened up a checking account. Now I didn't open up a business bank account because I am not registered as an LLC yet. I just opened up a regular checking account with my bank and I put everything direct deposited from my business into there. So that way it's a lot easier to keep track of everything because I don't have to go through every random expense that I accrue throughout the month in my regular checking account. I can just look and see what money did I make this month and what money did I take out of my business account because there's a lot less transactions that go on in the business one. So I recommend that you do this as well if you're making enough money. But honestly, I did this when I wasn't making a ton of money. And I think it also kind of helped me feel a little bit more serious about my business. It helped me feel like I was actually running a business as opposed to just doing something on the side. It like really helped my mindset. I think it helped me manifest more money. I can't say for sure that it did, but it kind of feels like it did because my income did increase drastically after that. So it's a good mindset thing as well. Open up a separate checking account and hook all of your business income sources up into that. And like I said, this is going to make it way easier at the end of the month to track your income and figure out what's going on for your business. Now, one thing that I didn't do last year that I'm going to do this year is have all of my business expenses come out of that account as well. Because I don't really make that much money, I will either put my business expenses on a credit card or I will just pull it out of my regular checking account because I have about $100 in my business checking account, and then I will pull everything else out to put into my regular checking account. This year, I'm going to be saving money in that account so that I can put all of my expenses and everything there. I'm going to be saving up money to buy courses if I want or whatever I want to invest in this year. And then also my hosting and everything that I pay for, all the tools for my blog, will come out of that business checking account. That way I can keep track of everything, because right now what I do is I just pay it on a credit card or I pay it from my regular account and I kind of lose those expenses a little bit. However, it's important that you keep track of your expenses. So I'm not losing it literally, but I can't see it as easily because it's coming from a regular checking account as opposed to one specifically for my business. You want to make sure that you keep track of your expenses. That is definitely a good thing to do. So whatever it is that you buy, keep a note of it and keep a record of it that you bought it for your business. Now, I am not an expert in taxes and I am definitely not a financial expert, but The things that you buy for your business are a tax deduction that helps you pay less taxes at the end of the year. So I make sure that all of the receipts that get sent to my email, I keep them in a separate folder, or I think Gmail calls them labels. So I created a separate label, business receipts, and every time I buy something for my business, it goes in there. And then I keep it for multiple years because I think you can technically get audited up to 7 years previously. And while I don't expect to get audited, it would be nice to have a record of how much I bought for my business, just in case for some weird reason I get audited. So make sure you keep track of all your expenses and keep all of the receipts. Like I said, pull everything into a label on Google, which is essentially just a folder, so that I make sure I keep track of everything. And then at the end of the year, I can see how much money did I spend, how much money did I make, and all of that. I keep everything that I've made in one folder for business income and one for business receipts, so that I can double check and make sure everything is correct. I'll keep track of it month to month as well, but I like to have a big file at the end of the year double checking all of my work essentially. So that's a good way to do it. And this year I will be saving for taxes, because as I said, I expect my income to go up this year. So since in years previously, my income was very little and my expenses were very high, I didn't have to pay taxes. But this year may end up likely being a bit different. So I am going to take 15% of what I make every single month, and I'm going to be putting that into a high yield savings account. Again, not a financial expert. This is just currently what I am doing. I opened up a high yield savings account. And if you don't know what a high yield savings account is, it's essentially got a high interest rate. So the more money that you put in, the more money you are going to get back at the end of the month. So I have one account that has a decent amount of money in it, and I get about $65 in interest a month just for it sitting there. So I took a small portion of money, I opened up a business bank account or a high yield savings business bank account for my business, and then I'm going to keep some money in my one checking account for 15% of all of my income that I make. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to transfer what I want for taxes into the high yield savings account so that it is making me money and will be enough to pay taxes hopefully at the end of the year. Now, I obviously have no idea what taxes are going to be, and 15% is about all I can do right now because I'm not really making that much in the grand scheme of things. But I looked it up, and you're really supposed to be saving about 20 to 35%. So eventually I want to up that to 20% and then 25% saving for taxes. But right now I'm just going to do whatever it is that I can, and we'll up that the more money that I make. Because even if this isn't enough, or maybe it is enough, it's still good to just have it in a savings account because no one was ever hurt from saving money. So those are kind of some of the things that I am doing. I also, about 2 years ago, opened up a retirement account. Now, I obviously cannot open up a 401k because I don't have a actual 9-to-5 job. So I opened up what's called a Roth IRA account with Charles Schwab. And I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. So I can't really give you much advice on this is a good thing to do, this is a bad thing to do. I looked at my options for what retirement account should I open, and I liked the Roth IRA one because essentially you can contribute, I think last year was up to $6,500, and I think this year it's going up to $7,000. And you can contribute up to that amount, and when you pull it out after 65 and a half, you do not get taxed on it. So there was another one that you would get, you can put as much as you wanted, I think, but you would get taxed on it after 65 and a half. I don't want to worry about that. So I am putting as much as I can, which is not much because I'm trying to pay off debt and other things, but I'm putting what I can into that account up to $6,500. And then when I turn, I believe it's 65 and a half, I can pull out all of that money without it being taxed. And I have no idea what I'm doing. I've invested in a few things. I must be doing a good job because my investments are growing, which is fantastic, but I don't know enough to give you guys advice. I totally recommend looking up that if you're interested in doing that and finding someone who is way better versed in retirement investing and things like that than I am. But those are just some of the things that I'm doing in my business to make 2024 an even better year. I also want to turn my business into an LLC or some sort of officially licensed business. I know at some point I want to do an S Corp and become an employee of my business and get a paycheck every week or two. And there's a lot more that's going to go into business stuff, but that's kind of just what I'm doing right now and some of my plans for the future. So hopefully that can help you guys figure out, is this something that I'm interested in? Maybe you've never heard of some of this stuff before and you can look it up on your own for someone who is way more intelligent than me on this stuff and give you guys some words to look up if you have never heard of any of this stuff. And I think that is pretty much it. Overall, 2023 was a great year. I made the most money that I've ever made in 1 year and in 1 month when I started at about $600 a month. There was a lot of growth. There was a lot of good things. There was a lot of healing just in my personal life and also in business. And I continue and hope and expect that to continue in 2024. I hope you had a great year as well. Thank you for sticking around with me for 2023. I love you, and I hope to see you in 2024 as well. Make sure to like if you like, subscribe to my channel down below for more videos just like this, and I'll see you next week. Bye.